Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly for pricing, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a drop-dead gorgeous watch that frankly, should still be in production. This is the Audemars Piguet Jules Audemars Chronograph, a timepiece 41 millimeters in white gold with a drop-dead dial that is so compelling I can't even imagine how they managed to shelve this and bring about the code 1159 in one fell swoop. Audemars Piguet, please resurrect this model. This needs to be the new remaster. And yes, I know it's less than a decade later, but this watch is so gorgeous and beautifully proportioned, 41 millimeters by 12.9 millimeters thick, 47.5 millimeters lug-to-lug. The size across the wrist is perfect, and the 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs means that though this watch reads as vintage, its stance on the wrist is very modern and broad. It's a perfect size. You can see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it is low enough to fit underneath the cuff, and down the barrel you can see I have plenty of clearance on both sides of my wrist. I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference in spite of its 41 millimeter size. Let's take a look at the hardware and the software. You can see Audemars Piguet uses a large rectangular scale alligator leather strap top. You can see on the side sheer-sided, so you can see the layers of leather. There is a black monotone stitch. It's a semi-gloss finish on the leather. You can see that this is a brand new Audemars Piguet factory strap with calfskin on the bottom. And take note, AP drills these lugs close to the case, so the pivot points of the strap are well inboard to work well on a small wrist. As a result, AP uses curved spring bars, and that prevents the strap from being constrained against the side of the case. It has a full range of motion. The buckle, as you can see, is a full deployant clasp in matching white gold. It's a high polished AP logo style deployant that prevents you from accidentally dropping your watch. Now, the watch includes a lovely contrasting finish on its case. Note that there's longitudinal satin finish on the case band, but then vertical satin finish on the lugs. Contrast and high polish for the lug hoods as well as the bezel. You can see that the case features welded lug construction. So the lugs are built separately from the case. They're then slotted into the side of the case and welded in place with evidence of the welded joint removed by hand. So this is a very handcrafted and hand-finished case construction method. Now, you can see in good taste, Audemars Piguet has somewhat recessed the crown and the chronograph pushers. There's a little bit of countersink here that makes them less prominent and obtrusive on the side of the watch. Now, the timepiece features shouldered pushers, but they are not screw down, so you can actuate the chronograph anytime you want. The bezel is conical. It has a very short vertical portion and a larger conical slope leading into a dial that is, of course, sapphire capped, and this dial is something else. I've seen ivory-colored dials, but this particular ivory-colored lacquer is next level. There are deeper, darker, more complex undertones here. I would even go so far as to say this is a combination of maybe 90% ivory and 10% salmon dial. It's that compelling. There's a tachymeter scale outboard, and that can be used for gauging the speed of, say, a car over a kilometer. We have lovely vintage evocative hand forms at center in black and white gold, and then the fonts used on this dial are a wonderful throwback to the first 35 years of the 20th century. You'll also note that there is a lovely array of colors. We have black, we have silver, we have red, and we have that ivory coloration with sunken sub-registers. And AP went with a Dubois de Praz twin register chronograph dial to make it look a little bit more vintage inspired and pare down the chronograph that, for example, you would see on the Royal Oak with 3 registers and a date. So AP went minimalist here. Now, there is a Dubois de Praz vertical clutch chronograph module. You can see the pushers are not in line with the crown. The advantage of using DD, though, is that they have a vertical clutch system in their module. So when you start the chronograph, there's no jump or stagger to the seconds hand, unlike with a lateral clutch. The watch also features hacking or stop seconds. Let's flip it all over. 30 meters water resistant, so please don't go swimming with it. You can see AP's maker's mark on this case. So I talked about how attention and handcraft are lavished on this case. Well, AP made both the movement and the case. Taking a look at the movement, it's caliber 3134, which is the 3124. 3124 is the 3120 with a front side designed to adapt to that dual register DD module. So it's technically identical to the 3120 because it is hitched to a complication. It's 55 hours rather than 60, but that's a long reserve. by conventional standards. In the watch industry, 38 to 42 is still standard for an automatic watch. AP went with bidirectional winding, so it didn't have the unidirectional rotor wobble of, say, a 7750, and the 22-karat winding mass features the coats of arms of both the Audemars and Piguet family, reminding you that Audemars Piguet, since 1875, still owned and run by the founding families and the oldest Swiss watch brand that can say this. Ceramic rotor bearings are used for efficiency. The movement beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it has a full balance bridge with a free-sprung index for toughness. The movement is handsomely finished, and as you can see, it is a 59-jewel movement that uses a combination of mechanical and hand finishing techniques, putting it roughly on par with the likes of, for example, F.P. Journe, which also uses similar finishing techniques. This watch, frankly, deserves a new lease on life, or at the very least, a lease on a new wrist. Will it be yours? Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.